I don't know about you, but I wasn't really taught a proper education about sex and sexual energy. Did anyone here, when they were coming of age, were they told that sex was something really sacred and beautiful that should be approached with love, and that could, you can generate enough energy in combination with someone else when you come from that heart space to manifest absolutely anything? Did anyone here get that sort of education around sex?
No.
One guy raising his hand. All right. In a church. Yeah.
They teach something similar to that.
That's great. That's great.
But in public schools.
Yeah. My sexual education, well, the sex talk I got from my parents, when I was a teenager, one day my dad said to me, he's like, son, when I was your age, I was jealous because all my friends would tell me that they were spending the night with their girlfriends, but now I'm not the one paying child support. That was my sex talk from my dad. Most of us in the world right now, we learn about sex and sexuality through watching movies, media, porn. That's how most people learn about sex. And so we spend our lives trying to recreate what we see, right? Because we're confused about it. It's obvious there's all this energy involved in it because we're all so attracted to it, but we just don't really know how to engage in it. And we don't really understand the true potential of sexual energy. So that's, been my mission. So just to share a little background about myself, how I got to where I am, how I got to be, teaching sacred sexuality. I grew up in a small farm in Idaho, small town, kind of a cowboy farming town. I was kind of an alien, I was like a Luke Skywalker, like, man, I just want to go to other planets and see cool stuff. And so in my teenage years, when I was 19, I had a powerful spiritual awakening. I took some psilocybin mushrooms, walked off into the hills at night by myself, and I had a Kundalini awakening. I was in this incredible blissful experience where I was just downloaded all this information about spirituality, the true nature of ourselves, our energetic potential. It completely transformed my life. I was not the same person after that experience. And I kept trying to recreate this experience. I'm like, okay, I just need to take plants, take drugs, but I could never get to that same place. I only had really experiences after that. So this led me on a journey to get back into this mystical experience. I was like, how do I do this in a sustainable way? And this led me to study meditation, yoga, the Eastern philosophies. I began meditating every day, and I started to activate my energy centers. I started to have these mystical experiences. But at this point in my life, in my early 20s, I was like, where does sex fit into all this? Where does this sexual energy I have? Because, I was a man, I had a sex drive. And so, I'd be meditating, having these spiritual experiences, but then I would find myself, seeking out shallow relationships, watching porn, all these things. So it was like this Jekyll and Hyde situation, right? I'm like, how do these two things interrelate? And I heard about Tantra, I heard about sacred sexuality, and there just wasn't many resources for me at the time. This was, 2008, 2009, something like that. And so it led me on a journey to really seek out where does sexuality and sexual energy integrate with my spiritual path. And eventually, I guess I should admit at the time I was a musician. I was trying to be a full-time musician. I was a starving artist, right? So I discovered a book by a man named Montauk Chia called The Multi-Orgasmic Man. Of course, that was an attractive title to me. I'm like, whoa, multiple orgasms, all right, sign me up. And so I'm reading this book, and basically this book explains that for men, and I'm going to get more into this, for men, an ejaculatory orgasm, ejaculating actually depletes a man's life force, and that men in the world are basically sexually depleted. And by building up this sexual power, by not constantly ejaculating, that a man can really develop his sexual power, therefore develop his manifestation abilities. And this completely blew my mind. So I started to seek out teachers. I'm like, how do I learn this stuff? How do I learn to channel sexual energy, become a multi-orgasmic man, and have this amazing tantric sexual experience? And so I found a guy who teaches here in the US. His name's Michael Wynn. He teaches Taoist sexual practices, internal alchemy. So I started studying all these amazing practices. I started practicing Qigong. We just did some amazing Qigong practices with Matthew here right before this. And I learned that, like all types of energy, sexual energy, it flows through our body in certain pathways. But to be able to control this energy, you have to have kind of a foundational ability to, open the meridians of the body, be able to channel your energy in different ways. And so by practicing Qigong, practicing these meditation practices, I gained a much deeper connection with my sexual energy, and I learned how to consciously start working with it. And it freed up so much of my life because, this is something I'm going to talk about coming up here in a bit, but I was addicted to porn. This is a real serious situation in our world right now, especially for younger men with the advent of technology. And this was depleting my energy. It was depleting my life force. You know, I was, at this point in my life, I was about 22, 23 years old. I was at a dead end in my life. I had no energy. I had, you know, my vitality was very low. I felt weak. I had no motivation in my life. I would get up in bed and have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, right? Or sorry, I would wake up in the morning, have a hard time getting out of bed. And I realized because I was recklessly spending my sexual energy from excessive ejaculation. I had a porn addiction. It was really affecting my social life, my relationships, and things like this. So by doing this work, by learning how to consciously work with my sexual energy, cultivate it and channel it consciously instead of it just controlling me like it does for so many people, it completely transformed my life. My health improved dramatically. My energy levels went through the roof. I had more energy than I did when I was, 16 years old. And it really gave me the ability to start consciously directing my life. I no longer was in this victim state of like, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have this and that, I'm kind of stuck in this place. I started to gain the ability to truly manifest, and my life completely turned around. And in 2017, I was at a retreat studying with Michael Wynn, my teacher at the time, and I got this download, just that how essential this work is to the world right now. Seeing that a lot of the struggles, a lot of the conflicts we have in the world are inherently due to this distortion we have around our sexuality, sexual frustration, and violence around sex, all these horrific things that are happening around the world, human trafficking. All these come down to this serious distortion in our lower chakras, sexual energy. And at that moment, I decided I'm going to share everything I know about this to the world, because I'd been practicing for several years at that point, and I started a YouTube channel. I just started making videos about it, and I gained a lot of followers. There was a lot of attention around the content I was creating, and I'm basically making a living by teaching people about conscious sexuality. And I'm very, very grateful to be where I am. This is obviously part of my purpose, is to be sharing this work. And again, I think this is an essential part of our awakening process, our ascension process, is learning how powerful our sexual energy is, and how to shift it from being this unconscious impulse that directs us to do weird things into being a completely conscious energy that we're able to work with, harmonize, and channel to create what we want with it, right? So we'll continue on here. I think this is relevant right now. We're gonna have some memes in here. We gotta lighten it up with some humor, guys. So we've been lied to about what sex is. We've been conditioned, again, through porn, through media, to see sex as this purely physical, animalistic act, right? And there's been all this religious, this cultural pressure around sex. There's all this shame and all this guilt. Like I said, my sex talk from my dad was, you don't want to, end up like my friends paying child support. We're often taught about sex in this context of shame and guilt. It's something we have to hide. It's something, it's something dirty, right? Even though it's one of the most natural parts of our human experience. And so our sexual energy is actually one of the most powerful driving forces in our lives, right? And we've been programmed to see it as something dirty, just this physical act, and we're conditioned just to see it as only being this. But the truth is that, understanding sexual energy is something very, very, again, it's something very powerful. And we haven't been taught anything about what sexual energy truly is and how we can actually work with it and use it for amazing things. So sexual energy is a very specific type of energy. The Taoists call it Jing Qi, which basically means the essence of the sexual fluids of the body. It's different from the other types of psychic, subtle energies that flow through our body, the 12 organ energies, emotional energies. Sexual energy is very, very specific. It has these unique properties. First of all, it's like a super glue, a psychic super glue. It bonds you, it glues you to thoughts, to feelings, to actions, to people. Have you ever been in a long-term sexual relationship with someone and then broken up with them and tried to just, stop thinking about that person, stop feeling things for that person? You've glued yourself to that person, so that's what it does, but it also glues you to emotions. Again, it glues you to thoughts, glued to their electronic devices, sending their sexual energy to it, watching porn. Sexual energy is also a very powerful amplifier. It's like the sperm and the egg, they join, and they multiply thousands, millions, trillions of times to form an entire human body. That is the power of your sexual energy, this amplification power. And so anything that sexual energy comes in contact with, it's multiplied tremendously. And when we understand these properties of sexual energy, understand that this can be, it's a double-edged sword. For a lot of people, this brings them a lot of trouble because they're gluing themselves to nasty situations, to unhealthy relationships, to porn, and they're amplifying these things as well, amplifying negative emotions, amplifying anger, frustration. But being aware of this, we can start to use these unique properties of sexual energy to create good. We can glue ourselves to spiritual awareness. We can glue ourselves to transformation, to healing, and we can amplify these things. So this is the power of working with sexual energy. And it's really this desire, the sexual energy is this desire for us to, it's a spiritual drive to seek completion, to seek this resolution of polarity, because we're in these polarized bodies. This inherently gives us this sort of trauma that we feel incomplete. We're in these sexually polarized bodies. And so we're always, in some level, looking to seek completion of that resolution or to resolve that separation we feel being in a polarized body. And one way we experience that is through sex. When, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman, same sex, whatever, we all have this yin-yang, this magnetic polarity between us. And when we connect, we neutralize the polarities, we experience oneness, we experience absolute connection, right? At least when you're in a loving sexual exchange. So you're able to transcend polarity by having conscious sex. And sexual energy, as I mentioned, it travels through the energy channels of the body, and this can be consciously controlled with practice. So as I said, sex is a spiritual drive. It's this, the drive to connect, to rebirth ourselves, to create, to expand, to evolve. And when sex is approached with love, respect, and awareness, it can accelerate your healing and your spiritual awakening because of that amplifying power and that the creative, regenerative properties of sexual energy. So why would you want to work? Why might you want to work with your sexual energy? As I said, you can supercharge your creativity. Sexual energy is creative energy. Everything in the universe that's created is created by sexual energy. I don't know if anyone told you, but your parents created you out of an orgasm, right? Everything created in this universe comes through this portal of orgasm. And so you can access abundance through sexual energy, boost your personal magnetism. People who have a lot of sexual vitality are very attractive. They're very magnetic. It exudes into their aura. You feel this. You can use this to improve your health, improve your hormones, charging your spiritual path, living with more pleasure, more fulfillment, and orgasmic potential. We have a real pleasure crisis on the planet right now. As people are being conditioned to live in steel boxes and to stare at screens all day, we're becoming disconnected from our true nature, which is to be one with all of nature, this unfolding. You go out in nature, it's vibrant, it's juicy, it's vital. The water, the wind in your hair, this is the natural pleasure we were meant to live in. But we're being, stuck in lockdowns, being stuck in a steel box, not being able to see the sun, and people are getting pleasure from staring at screens all day, and it's not really that pleasurable, right? So working with your sexual energy is a way to step back into that natural pleasure, which it is being in a physical body. It's one of the reasons I think we came to the third dimensional realm, was to have this human experience, to feel our feet on the ground, to feel the wind in our hair, to see the sunset, and to connect sexually with people we love. So before I go further, we're going to do a little bit of practice. As I was just talking about, nature is because our sexual health, our health is really linked to our sexual vitality. The amount of hormones you have, in the Chinese medical system, they say this relates to the kidney system, the water element, which is not just the kidneys, but the bladder, the blood, the bone marrow, all the sexual organs. This is all part of our kidney system. The kidney system is basically the battery of the body. It's your primary energy. When you're feeling fatigued all the time, when you need to slam coffee in the morning just to wake up, it means your adrenals and your kidneys are depleted, and therefore your sexual vitality is likely affected by this as well. So your sexual vitality is basically a readout of your overall health and balance. So the most simple way to improve your sexual vitality is to connect with nature. Nature is, our planet Earth is a very juicy sexual goddess of a being. Look at all the life that this planet's creating. I mean, we just step out of this building, we see all the trees, we hear the insects, we see the water. This is a very sexual planet. It's birthing life, birthing millions and millions of species. So when we resonate with that, we can resonate and connect with the sexual energy of the earth to improve our own vitality. And this is one of the most simple ways to boost your energy overall. Sexual energy is not just about having sex, it's about having this vitality in your body, right? And so we're gonna do a little bit of a practice to connect with the sexual energy of the earth to boost our own vitality. So first of all, let's just stand up for a moment and we're just gonna shake ourselves out. I know it's been a lot of talk, it's been a lot of information, so let's just shake a little bit. We were doing this morning in our sound bath, but it's a great way just to shake out any tension. Just take a few breaths. You can let out any noise. And just feel your body moving. Feel the sensuality of being in a physical body. Feel your blood moving, your lymph moving. This is a great way to just shake off any stress, any tension, move your blood, especially if you sit down a lot. I've heard that there's places in Bali where you go and you spend a bunch of money to be healed and they have you shake for 3 hours. So I should be charging you guys more for this, but no. All right, now you can sit back down. But just notice how you feel. Do you feel a bit more awake, a bit more energized? So we're going to do let me get out of the light here. I guess we can sit down and do this practice. Obviously, we're all sitting, so I'll sit down with you guys. And just feel your feet on the earth. Just take a few deep breaths and center yourself. So we're going to connect with our sexual center. Don't worry, we don't need to get naked to do this. Unless you want to, but I don't know, the hotel management might frown on that. So, men, you're going to be focusing on your testicles. Women, you're going to be focusing on your ovaries. Let me demonstrate real quick. If you don't know how to find your ovaries, basically, women, you do this. So you're going to make this shape with your hands, place your thumbs against the navel, and where your pinkies are, right here in this area, that's about where your ovaries are. So just bring your awareness into that area of the body. So testicles for men, ovaries for women. When I say sexual center, that's what I'm talking about. First, just take a few breaths into that area. So feel like these sexual organs are like, there's sponges all over them. As you inhale, you're absorbing energy from the air, and they're energetically expanding. So you inhale and draw into the sexual organs, feel them expanding. And as you exhale, just feel like they're absorbing that energy. It's concentrating and they shrink a little bit. So it's like your sexual organs energetically become like lungs. So you inhale, they expand and absorb energy. You exhale, they contract and absorb. And even though I think for men especially, this has been one of our favorite areas of our bodies, we're often only connected to this area during sex, when we're sexually aroused. And right now we're doing this out of just a non-aroused, just a normal meditative state. So we can access the sexual energy 24/7. And now, just feeling that subtle activation of your sexual center, become aware of the center of the earth, the center of gravity, the center of the earth. And this Mother Earth we live on, her womb space and her heart space are in the same area. They're at the very center. So just be aware of that, the center of the earth, her womb, heart space. And see a pink glowing light, or like an energetic ball, this massive pink energy. The color pink is the essence of a sexual energy. Pink is a combination of red and white, right? So the sexual fluids of men and women, white is the sperm, red is the blood. So pink, we work with this pink energy to work with our sexual energy. So just see this glowing pink energy in the center of the earth. And as you inhale, imagine that there's tubes connecting from the center of the earth up your legs and into your sexual center. And as you inhale, like you're sucking up from a straw, draw the sexual energy of the earth up through this straw, through your legs and into your sexual center. So you inhale, absorbing that in. And as you exhale, just feel like it's absorbing into the sexual center, like water into a sponge. Absorbing this juicy pink sexual vitality from the earth. Just feel that pulsation of the earth's sexual energy, absorbing with your energy, or absorbing it into your body. It's mixing with your own sexual energy. Feel that vitality. Feel that pulsation. It's very subtle. And if you want something more tangible, you can imagine you're breathing in the waters of the earth, the forests, all of the species Mother Earth is birthing, that powerful birthing power that our Mother Earth has. Breathing that into your own sexual center to connect with that. Breathing the earth's sexual energy up into your own sexual center. Feel it absorbing into your sexual organs. And then just let go of the practice and just feel what feels different. Just notice. You feel a bit more of a vibration in the body. Feel a bit more vital, a bit more juicy. And then you can open your eyes. So that practice it's a method of, again, connecting with the earth's sexual energy, drawing that into your body and absorbing it. And if you do that, that's something you can do just a couple minutes a day, 5 minutes, whatever. And that will start to really recharge your kidney system and your sexual system, your sexual vitality. That is better than Viagra, it's better than hormone supplements people take. If you do that every day, you will stay connected with that powerful radiant energy of the earth. Because so many people in this planet they're depleted on a lot of levels, right? So much stress, so much fear. And this also shows up in the bedroom. Impotence for men, for women, infertility, all these things are becoming very major. So doing practices like this helps you to naturally really, really boost your overall vitality, your energy levels. And it really gets you in your body. It's very grounding, which is essential when you're doing a lot of spiritual work. So continuing on, having fulfilling, harmonious sex creates health, happiness, and longevity. Orgasm is the center of the universe. I think it was Wilhelm Reich who said this, right? Orgasm opens a portal into infinity. It's the portal from which we're able to manifest, to create, to birth. And this can be the state of orgasm can be sustained for longer and longer periods of time and even carry over into the rest of your day. Not because you're, having sex all day, but because you're tuning into that vibration of orgasm, which is a vibration of bliss. It's a vibration of pleasure, of joy, of creation, right? When you're doing practices like what we just did, you're able to naturally carry this sexual energy into all aspects of your being. Orgasm is, again, it's this portal that all creation passes through. And when we experience love and orgasm in combination, it heals our cells, it heals our DNA, and it keeps us young and energetic. our bodies are made of sex. We could say the body's constantly in a sexual process. What's keeping our physical body alive? Our cells are constantly multiplying. They're reproducing. Cellular sex. 24/7, our bodies are having sex, right? Our bodies are like these nymphomaniacs. And when we get into resonance with that, when we're able to consistently experience orgasm, experience bliss, experience pleasure, it heals our DNA. It allows our cellular reproduction to happen harmoniously and properly, because what happens is as we get old, as we're just, as we're stressed, as we're unhappy, we're not connecting with pleasure, our cells start to multiply not as efficiently, and we become diseased, right? So it's very important for our health, and having sex releases all these youthful hormones. Again, one of the greatest signs of youth and high energy levels is having healthy hormone levels. And as we age, our hormone levels start to decline. One of the causes of Alzheimer's I've seen is this lack of sexual hormone in the brain. So by connecting with the sexual energy, it's really the fountain of youth, is these sexual practices. And you've been programmed to experience the flow of sexual energy in one direction, away from you. I think this is especially relevant for men. So this pattern of, again, as a man, I learned about sex through porn, and I learned to only fantasize and send my sexual energy out of my body physically through an ejaculation. And this, as I learned in my early 20s, this was really, really depleting me. So this pattern of sending your sexual energy outside of you only in one direction, it becomes ingrained and difficult to shift as you do it over and over and over, because our sexual energy is very sticky. And we're constantly, again, men especially, we're constantly sending our sexual energy outward through fantasy, through porn, through addictive masturbation, through low vibrational sex, which is just approaching sex from a place of lust in this physicalistic expression. And I think this is extremely relevant, in our world right now. This is something that's become extremely aware to me as I started doing this work, is this porn industry and some of the nasty, nasty stuff related to it. The porn industry is feeding dark entities with sexually enslaving humans. When you think about it, I think it's like 20 to 30% of men, statistically I've seen, are addicted to porn, meaning that they're on their computer every single day, spending up to several hours a day looking at porn, masturbating to porn. Where are they sending all this sexual energy? One of my teachers talks about this astral sex beast, this nasty dark entity that is feeding on all this sexual energy that people are freely spending, watching porn, masturbating, ejaculating. I know it's kind of a dark subject, but it's very, very important to be aware of, especially I know a lot of you are healers, you're working with clients, and I can guarantee you a lot of, when you walk into a room, it's safe to say the majority of people in that room have these weird sexual ties, so it's a very important thing to be aware of. So there's this nasty dark entity that's feeding off millions and millions of people's sexual energy. It's behind human trafficking, the porn industry. This is nasty. And I always think of the scene from The Matrix, right? Where Neo wakes up and he sees his fellow humans wired in. They're being fed off of literally, they're batteries for these AI machines. And that is what a large portion of the human population is. They're batteries for these parasitic entities to feed off of. And that's, something that's becoming very apparent in this age of awakening, right? So liberating your sexual energy, getting yourself out of this cycle is extremely, extremely important. And I think this is, for me personally, as I was becoming very spiritually awakened, I was, very aware on some level, but at the same time, I was still addicted to porn. And I see this a lot where people are very spiritually awakened, but on a lower chakra level, they still have all these patterns, these kind of entanglements, these cords that are feeding these nasty stuff. So this is extremely important part of your ascension process. It's a very important thing to be aware of. And you can clear it by doing this work, by reprogramming the flow of your sexual energy. So here's a little meme. Oh, you can't see it for real, but this is, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, it's Smeagol, and then it's actually Gollum down here, so I don't know. Sex and hormones. So again, as I said, hormonal depletion and stress equals a low sex drive, your health declines, and it affects your immune system especially. Stress and low vitality, you have no immune system. Depression, addiction to vices, and we're going to talk about the peak orgasm for the valley versus the valley orgasm. So most of us have only experienced peak orgasm, especially men, right? There's many, many different types of orgasm that we can experience. So peak orgasms, for a man, this would be the ejaculatory orgasm. Peak orgasms have this very short onset. You can think of like a peak, and a very short-lived duration. When a man's having the ejaculatory orgasm, it only lasts about 5 to 10 seconds. It's this intense pleasure, and then it drops off, and you lose energy through it. This is energy flowing out and downward. This is the flow of energy that's happening during this type of orgasm. But there's also a valley orgasm, which is more of a state of orgasm that you can sustain for longer and longer periods of time. And basically, you think of all this pleasure and intensity that's concentrated into that 5 to 10 second peak orgasm. Instead, you're stretching that out to a much longer, more sustainable state of orgasm. So it's not as intense initially, right? But you're able to ride this valley orgasm for several minutes, even hours. And this gets into non-ejaculatory orgasms. So I'm going to be addressing things for both men and women, but a lot of men are surprised. Guys, did you know that you can have multiple orgasms? Did any men know that before they came here? You can raise your hand if you want. All right, a good portion of you did. So for men, orgasm and ejaculation are two physiological different processes that can be separated. Orgasm starts just about a second, maybe a second and a half before an ejaculation. And with practice, you can separate these. You do this by redirecting the energy upwards. What's happening for a man during sex, during sexual pleasure, all this energy is building in the genitals, right? And it starts to build to a maximum point. There's all this pressure. It has to go somewhere. It has to be released. And for most men, it's going to move out the penis because that's the path of least resistance. You ejaculate out that sexual pressure. The problem with this is that you lose that energy, you have this recovery period, and the more and more you do this, the older you get, the longer that recovery period becomes. For some men, it's several days or even like a week, right? So instead of releasing that energy outwards, you create a new pathway in the body for it to move upwards. So as the arousal is building and building, the sexual pressure is building, you channel it upwards in the body by opening up certain channels, which we will be working with. And this creates an internal orgasm, and it allows you to sustain that valley orgasm state, which means the sexual energy, the orgasm is recycling, it's orbiting internally, building up to higher and higher levels. And you don't discharge it, you resonate that orgasm internally. So you can have these full body, powerful orgasmic states over and over again. And the keys to doing this are breath, breathing deeply. Most men, they breathe very shallow during sex. As they become more and more aroused, they start to tense up. The breath becomes very shallow, becomes high in the chest. And this triggers the sympathetic nervous system, which the ejaculatory function is attached to. It's a function of the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response. So when your breath is very shallow and you're very tense, it's going to kick in that fight or flight response and you ejaculate. So by keeping yourself relaxed, keeping the breath deep, you can hold a greater and greater charge of arousal and sexual energy without ejaculating. And you can start to ride these waves of higher and higher states of orgasm. Relaxation is very important, and guiding the arousal through the body. With skill, we're going to do a practice to feel this, but you can circulate your sexual energy through your body. So instead of this pressure building, I have to ejaculate it out, you're able to draw it upwards in the body, releasing the pressures from the genitals so you can build up more arousal and sustain that. That's the basic theory of male multiple orgasms. And there's this chart here. This is the typical arousal response for men. So this is kind of pleasure and arousal over a period of time. So this right here is the only thing I would say 99% of men ever experience. But all of this is possible, right? So they don't know that they're just at the tip of the iceberg, right? So the arousal builds, it builds, and then they hit this point of no return, the point at which ejaculation is inevitable. And right there, the pleasure goes up a bit more for 5 to 10 seconds. You ejaculate, and then it's over. You have to recover. By using the sexual kung fu practices, you build the arousal, but instead of continuing over to that edge, hitting that point of no return, you relax, you draw the energy up. Your arousal will subside a bit, but instead of ejaculating, you're able to keep going to higher and higher levels, right? Incredibly high levels of bliss, of pleasure, of orgasm, and connection with your partner you can experience by doing this, right? So this is how non-ejaculatory orgasms work for men. So instead of feeling, the stereotype is that after sex, a man wants to roll over on the bed and fall asleep. That's not the case anymore. After having these non-ejaculatory orgasms, having sex for hours, if you want, you feel energized, you feel supercharged, you feel creative, you want to like write a poem, sing a song, go out in the world and do cool stuff. That's how you feel when you're having these non-ejaculatory experiences for men, right? And you can start to channel that energy into other things. Unfortunately, statistically, the average man lasts about 5 minutes before ejaculating. So there's kind of an epidemic of premature ejaculation amongst men.
I have a
So,
question about that.
yeah.
Every time I hear that, I'm like, they must be including China or India or something. That can't be the West.
I think it's true from a lot of the men who are coming to me. It's a worldwide statistic, supposedly.
Okay.
And part of this, there's many reasons why premature ejaculation is so common amongst men. I think first of all is porn conditioning. Again, most men are masturbating to porn every day, and there's kind of this shame and guilt around. It's like, oh, my mom's going to walk in, so they program their system to ejaculate very quickly because they're so overstimulated. So, and another part of it's tension, being stuck in fight or flight mode. So there's a lot of aspects to it. But by doing these practices, by learning to draw that sexual energy through the body and breathe deeply, stay relaxed during sex, you can overcome premature ejaculation if that's an issue. So this gets us into semen retention. Constant ejaculation is one of the biggest drainages of a man's energy. I think it's in Ayurveda, they say that 80 drops of blood equals 1 drop of semen. Semen is a very, very concentrated, very nutrient and life force rich fluid in the body. Again, it has to be because this is the seed of the body. It's to create life, and the body's always ready to create life. It's that primal survival response, right? But it doesn't really make sense to be ejaculating this every single time you have sex. When you look at all the resources that the body puts into creating semen. Because the body's always creating placing a priority on creating more semen. So when you're constantly ejaculating, if you're not able to keep up with the supply of the energy that's required, the resources, so to speak, then the body starts to pull minerals from the organs, from the bones, the bone marrow, the brain, and it causes premature aging. So, and unfortunately, we don't learn this, right? Doctors tell us, it's great to ejaculate every day. And obviously, your constitution, your individual personal type, your body type, how healthy your diet is going to have different effects on this, but overall, I don't recommend that men ejaculate every single day. There's also some scientific evidence supporting this. When a man ejaculates, the body releases a hormone called prolactin, which it reduces testosterone in the body. It makes you feel lazy, makes you want to lay on the couch and watch TV. It makes you feel kind of depressed, actually, when it's always in your blood. It depletes your zinc levels. There's lots of zinc in semen. And the older you get, the harder it becomes for the body to absorb zinc from the foods you eat. So you become zinc deficient in zinc. And this also really affects your immune system and your hormonal production because you need high levels of zinc to create hormones and for a healthy immune system. Your androgen receptors, which bind to hormones, right? They're disrupted after ejaculation. Basically, the body, after an ejaculation, goes into self-repair mode, creating more. It places a priority on creating more semen. And so instead of doing cellular repair, keeping everything else in balance, it says, no, we need to put all of our resources into creating semen. So when you're ejaculating every day, the body's putting a lot of energy into creating more sperm. So when you stop ejaculating every day, I'm not saying you need to go forever without ejaculating, but start to go longer between releasing, your libido starts to increase, your sexual vitality starts to increase, your energy levels improve. Again, as I say, I was addicted to porn. I was ejaculating every single day through most of my teenage years into my early 20s, and I was getting very, very depleted. When I stopped doing that, the first time I went like a week without that, I was amazed at how much more energy I had, how much more vital I felt. I felt so much more like masculine, and this is what's happening around the world is men's testosterone levels are becoming decreased. One factor is porn addiction and excessive ejaculation, but also toxins in our environments, xenoestrogens. There's a lot of factors of this. Basically, men are becoming more feminine. They're becoming docile. What's the word? Domesticated, right? So they're easily controlled. And so what I recommend is having a conscious ejaculation schedule. If you're going to ejaculate, it should be very intentional. You should have a reason for, to give this energy to your partner, to create something with it. If you're new to this, if you're used to ejaculating every single day, try going 3 days. Try going 4 days. Try going 5 days. Try going a week. And then you can slowly increase. And what happens is, as you're doing these practices, which I'm sharing with you, of drawing the sexual energy upwards in the body, having non-ejaculatory sex, you'll be so surprised at how different it feels that you will want that to be your primary state, and you'll naturally start ejaculating less. So I know this may be kind of awkward for some people to hear and things like that, but I think this is a very important thing for people to be aware of. This is very well understood in ancient traditions. The yogis, the Taoists, they stress this consciousness around men releasing or not releasing their semen. And we'll get into a direct practice energy into the body. So here's another little meme here. Don't go down the dark side. And I don't want to, again, it's important to I'm not saying these things out of like you should feel guilty or shameful about doing this, but just having the consciousness that there's something that could be more harmonious, something that, could bring you more energy overall. So now let's get into women, expanding female pleasure. For women, the issues have been around, all this trauma, this guilt, this shame, and the suppression of the feminine. Women are very, very, very sexually powerful beings. Women are sexually superior to men because, you guys have to be. You're birthing life. You create life. You literally make humans in your body. That's incredible, incredible sexual power. And I think that throughout history, men have been very jealous of this. Men have been like, why can't I have this sexual power? And this has led to this, the horrific suppression of the feminine, which has happened for thousands of years. The witch hunts, all these horrible things, because men were jealous of women's sexual power and they tried to suppress them and control them. And women are still carrying these traumas, these karmas of their ancestors around this. So I think a lot of the work for women right now is releasing this guilt, this shame, and the kind of suppression of their own sexual power, which is immense. And another thing that women often experience is burnouts, which affects libido, sexual desire, fertility, because we live in a very masculine world, you must accomplish, you must be working 24 hours a day, and it burns us out. It burns out women, especially, hormones are depleted from too much action. So giving yourself some rest, doing practices like I shared with you, connecting to the earth's sexual energy and getting out of those burnout problems, and that will really help your libido and your sexual desire and your fertility as well. Being stuck in the head versus in the body. I think this is relevant to all people, but which brings us into anorgasmia, which is the inability to experience orgasm. I think one of the reasons that women have trouble experiencing orgasm is they're kind of self-conscious during sex. They're in their head. They're not able to relax and fully be in their body, which I think is true for all people, a lot of people anyway. And so I think I've heard this statistically, it's like 25% of women or something like that have never experienced an orgasm. And I think it's due to a lot of these things, this trauma, this suppression around the feminine, and also an inability to trust their partners, because so many men in this world have this very disharmonious, this taking view on sexuality, and women feel this subconsciously, right? So it's both men and women really benefit from doing this work because they both affect each other. We have this generations of men programmed through porn to have this very unhealthy approach, this kind of conqueror approach of sex, and that has created this trauma in the women. So by men and women both doing this work internally and then coming together out of this conscious sexual exchange, it's going to create a massive amount of healing into the world. So something that helps during sex is working with the breath, deep breathing, keeping the breathing slow and deep. That can always be your focal point to deepening your sexual experience, is deep, slow breathing. That becomes like this ocean wave, which you can ride higher and higher levels of pleasure and let go and get out of your head and into your body. And these are some tools that I think are very, very helpful for women. Breast massage and wand and egg practice. Doing these practices helps you to balance the hormones, helps to drain the lymph system, to detoxify the body and open up your sexual center, open up your breasts. The breast massage helps to open and connect with the heart. In Chinese medicine, breasts are considered the upper kidneys. They're connected to that water element, connected to hormones. So massaging your breasts every day helps to balance your hormones, connect with your heart space, and activate your sexual energy, actually. And your partner can participate. Using a wand or an egg, so these are yoni massage tools, basically. You can find these crystal wands, crystal eggs, to help to open up the yoni space, because for the woman, the womb, it's this dark, empty space, and there's a tendency for trauma and negative emotions to be stored in the space, and it creates this tension and trigger points, armoring in the yoni space. So doing this wand and egg practice can help you to reconnect with that space, clear these traumas, and to activate your highest sexual power and your highest sexual pleasure as well. So it helps you to release the trauma, resensitize, and you can also infuse the properties of those crystals you're working with into that womb space to really activate. G-spot massage for women can be a very, very powerful orgasmic awakening experience as well. A lot of deep sexual healing can happen by working with the G-spot. You can research this on your own. I can't really give a demonstration of this, but so yeah, these are some tools that I think will be very helpful for women. And again, when men are learning to get out of this lust-driven approach to sex, this I need to release my stress and tension into my partner, which a lot of men do, when they learn to heal themselves sexually, and then women learn to reconnect with their bodies, open up the space, clear trauma, so they can step into that feminine space to receive, we have this healthy masculine-feminine dynamic, and we can experience sacred sexuality. And so, actually, before I get further, we're going to do another practice. I know I've talked a lot, so we're going to do another practice right now. But one of my teachers says that talk does not cook the rice. This has become one of my kind of proverbs I use. It's like we can talk about stuff, but if we don't have a practice, then we are not unable to integrate it into the body. So we're going to do another practice. I'm going to sit down with you guys. So we're going to do a sexual circulation practice, circulating sexual energy. I call this orgasmic breathing. So just sitting, take a few deep breaths. And again, becoming aware of your sexual center. For men, the testicles; for women, the ovaries. You can also feel the yoni, whatever you feel called to. So just breathing into that space. As you inhale, it's like you're drawing an energy, and the sexual center expands, the organs open and expand, and as you exhale, they contract and absorb the energy. And you can also see this pink glowing light start to brighten there as you breathe into that space, activating that sexual energy. So men breathing into the testicles, women breathing into the ovaries, activating that sexual center in a safe, non-aroused way. And now I feel like there's a tube connecting the sexual center up into the center of the belly, the lower dantian. Matthew was talking a bit about the dantians. In my experience, the dantians are portals and like these energetic batteries that can store energy. So the lower dantian really corresponds to our physical body, our physical health and energy. So as we inhale, feel like you're sucking up from a straw the sexual energy from the sexual center up into the center of the belly. Exhale, feel it concentrated and absorbed there, like liquid absorbing into a sponge. Just moving your mind. Don't worry about doing it right or wrong. Just moving the mind from the sexual center up to the belly. The mind guides the chi. So when we move our sexual energy out of the sexual center, we can start to connect it to the rest of the body, to be stored, to be refined, so to speak. This is an element of Taoist internal alchemy, is transforming this raw sexual energy into something a bit more usable, so we can put it into other things. And now feel like this tube's connecting the sexual center up to the heart. You can place one of your hands on your heart if you want. As you inhale, breathe up from the genitals, breathing that sexual energy up. It's like you're sucking up from a straw, breathing it up into the heart center. Exhale, feel it absorb into that heart center. And as you inhale, you can very gently contract the pelvic floor as if you had to urinate and you're holding it in. Just a very, very slight contraction to help draw that energy up. Exhale, feel it absorb into the heart center. Relax the pelvic floor. There's often a disconnection between the sexual center and the heart center, especially in men I've seen. Fusing that raw sexual creativity, passion, desire, bringing it up into the heart center, connecting with the unconditional love, the radiance of the heart. This lightens the vibration of your sexual energy. It makes it easier to move through the body instead of feeling like you need to release it from your body. And now drawing up from the sexual center into the heart. Exhale down from the heart with a down into the sexual center. Inhaling up from the sexual center into the heart. Moving the fire energy from the heart down into the sexual center, that water energy, drawing up the sexual energy as you inhale. Heart energy down as you exhale. Fusing water and fire, creating a third force, a steaming energy. And then let go of that for a moment to see how you feel. See if you feel that connection between the heart center and the sexual center, which to me just feels like an embodied bliss, embodied love. We're going to do one more kind of pathway to play with. There's lots of ways we can move our energy and our sexual energy, so I'm just giving you some different options. This one we're going to work with a channel known as the microcosmic orbit. So this back channel starts at the perineum, moves up the back of the body, up to the crown, and then you place your tongue against the roof of the mouth. The front channel flows down the front of the body, back down to the perineum, creates this loop. So we're going to move our energy through this loop. So first we're just bring it up to the crown. So as you inhale, see this tube in the back of your body. Feel like you're drawing up the sexual energy, like water, up the back, up to the crown as you inhale. Exhale, just let the sexual energy absorb into the brain. It's like, again, like liquid absorbing into a sponge, absorb into the higher centers. Inhale, drawing up more energy, this watery sexual energy. Up to the crown, exhale, let it absorb. Inhale, drawing up. Exhale, absorb into the crown, the pineal gland, the third eye, just wherever it wants to move. The mind guides the chi, and the chi guides the blood and the hormones. So we're infusing this sexual hormones, this blood into the entire body, keeping us young, youthful, radiant. Now as you exhale, feel like there's this waterfall down the front of the body, moving your awareness down the front, moving that sexual energy down, creating an orbit. So breathing it up the back of the body to the crown, exhaling down the front of the body. You can even move the eyes upward as you inhale. Move the eyes down as you exhale. Helps to guide the energy. And when you finish your next exhale, just bring the awareness back down to the sexual center. And then we're going to take a deep inhale up from the sexual center into the belly and just hold the breath. Hold the breath just as long as it's comfortable. Feel like there's this ball in the belly center, moving, spiraling, drawing all the energy into it, collecting it in the lower dantian. And just exhale when you need to. And just feel. Letting go of any manipulation, just feeling what feels different, what's activated. Maybe just feel like you're falling asleep, that's okay. Just noticing what this practice did for you. All right, so we just did orgasmic breathing practice. So again, you can connect to your sexual energy 24/7. You don't need a partner to do these practices. You don't even have to, have sex specifically to connect with your sexual energy. It's always there. It's always in your glands, your organs. And by moving that through your body, you're moving your sexual energy, getting it flowing. Instead of just being kind of stuck in the lower centers, it starts to move through all the centers. This microcosmic orbit pathway, it connects to all the chakras, all the energy centers, and it starts to change the shape and the form of the energies that moves through it. It connects it to all of your energy centers. When you're sexually connecting with someone or just yourself, whatever, and drawing this energy through this pathway, so you can use this practice during tantric sex, and it will start to move this energy through your body. It will create this circuit between you and your partner, and it will get your entire body involved. So instead of just being this genital physical experience, it starts to open your heart center, starts to open your crown, open your third eye, and you get into these very, very powerful cosmic orgasmic states by using these practices. And I'm going to do a little Q&A at the end here, so if you guys have any questions, I'll be addressing that at the end. And this gets us into sexual healing. So during sex, there's a tremendous amount of energy generated. And for men, typically they discharge this energy at the end by ejaculating. So instead of ejaculating, you can use this practice that I just shared with you to draw that energy through the body as you're having sex. And you will start to store that powerful charge of energy, which you can then use for other things. You can use it for healing. So how you do this is after building a sexual charge from some direct physical sex, or just by doing this practice as we were doing, you can start to direct the energy into places in the body. Maybe you have an organ that's a bit weak. Your thinking isn't so clear that day. You're not feeling so creative. You can draw that sexual energy into a certain organ. You can draw it into your brain to enhance your creativity. Draw it into your pineal gland. Help open the third eye. And you and your partner can do this together. If you have a partner, again, you don't have to do this. You don't have to have a partner to do this, but it can be amplified with a partner. So you can, again, have some lovemaking, have building that energy, and then you stop, and you can focus on, working on one of you at a time. So you'd be like, okay, we're going to bring the energy here. My kidneys are a bit weak or something. So you can place your hands on the area and just use the practice we were just doing to draw the energy into that area of the body. And this, I believe, is what sex was meant to be. Not just this physical, animalistic, impulsive experience, but something very, very beautiful. Something that, again, because sexual energy amplifies it, multiplies it, bonds things together. When two people come together out of love, out of spiritual growth, and they do these practices together, they have this conscious sexual experience together, it is incredibly powerful, incredibly healing, incredibly profound. You start to bond to deeper levels of love, deeper levels of expansion. You start to have higher levels of spiritual activation. And this, in my opinion, has been some of the most powerful work I've ever done personally. So you start to merge this kind of raw sexual energy that's often, it's kind of awkward, it's kind of impulsive, it makes us do weird things sometimes, but now we're bringing it into full consciousness and we're integrating it into our entire being, so that we're saying, I want to use this energy instead of, doing weird things with it. I want to put it into art. I want to put it into my spiritual path. I want to put it into my healing work, right? So you're programming your sexual energy. You're getting out of these weird matrix constructs, that have been depleting you, and you're starting to consciously work with it. Create your own energetic matrix. Create your own system of programming and working with this energy, and that is very, very powerful. And I just want to get in a bit more specific application with this. So guys might be wondering, okay, how do I actually do this during sex? For men, kind of the technical aspect is that instead of basically you're starting to control your mind and what you're aware of, because the kind of issue for men is this energy starts to become aroused out of control, and they ejaculate, they lose it. So what you're focusing on during sex is breathing deeply, focusing on drawing this energy upward. The practice we were doing, this orgasmic breathing practice, you can use that during sex to draw the energy through your entire body, so that as it builds up, instead of having to release it through ejaculating, you're moving it through your entire body. So you start to practice this exercise in an aroused state, so that you can start drawing the sexual energy through your body, get into these states of full body orgasm. It's very, very powerful. And women, you can use this as well to again, draw your energy through your body to get into these full body states of orgasm. And you can actually, when you're with a partner, you can focusing on exchanging your energy. So because sex is an exchange, right? It's, typically one partner is more yin, one partner is more yang, this male-female dynamic. Even if it's a same-sex relationship, you can focus on releasing. So for example, a man and a woman. A man typically has an excess of yang energy, the woman has an excess of yin. So the man focuses on sending his masculine fiery energy into the woman, into her sexual center. She absorbs it, draws it into her body wherever she needs to, and then she sends her body into the man's body. He absorbs it, draws it into his body wherever he needs to. So this becomes an exchange, a conscious exchange, and a way of charging each other up instead of depleting each other, right? We didn't really learn about, I definitely didn't learn in school how to have a conscious relationship, how to interact with a partner. And I was always like looking to take something from my partner in my teenage years, because we're programmed to. It's like, I'm empty inside. I need this thing from you. That's kind of how we're programmed to be in this world, right? And so when you're doing this type of practice, when you're building yourself up, you're building your chi, you're doing qigong, you're doing meditation, you're doing these types of practices, you start to overflow with life force. You're no longer depleted. You are overcharged. You are a shining light. And so when you step into a conscious relationship with someone, it's no longer about, I need this thing that you have, I need to take it from you. You're both overflowing into each other. It becomes, okay, what can we create together? How can we exchange our energy and create something beautiful? This is conscious relationship. This is evolved relationship. So we're gonna do one more practice, and then I'm gonna see if you guys have any questions, all right? So this is gonna be a breathwork practice, still kind of working with our sexual energy. This is called the immortal breath. What this practice is going to do is draw, it's kind of like the orgasmic breathing on steroids. It's going to really powerfully draw the sexual energy into various areas of the bodies we'll be working with. So how we're going to do this is, actually I'm going to stand up first to demonstrate. We'll be sitting down. You're going to place your hands on your belly, and as you exhale, you're going to exhale powerfully and bend forward. Exhale through the nose, inhale, sit back up. So we're going to do 9 of those breaths, and then we're going to take a deep breath and hold it. So that's going to be the first one, okay? And I have to warn you, you might get a bit lightheaded doing this. It's very powerful breath work. So if you're holding the breath, you start to get really lightheaded, just bend forward, place your hands on the ground, and exhale. So hands on your belly. We're going to do 9 intense breaths. Exhale all your air. Hold the breath. Gently squeeze the pelvic floor and very gently push out the belly. Hold the breath as long as you comfortably can, and just hold your awareness in the belly. Feel like there's this energy ball spiraling there. And exhale when you need to. Let's just raise our hands up. This ha sound helps to disperse heat from the body. So we're going to do another one, and now we're going to have a specific internal engagement as we hold the breath. We're going to focus on spiraling the energy through the 5 major organs. The kidneys, which are in the lower back, the liver on the right side of the ribs, heart, left side of the chest here, the spleen, left side of the ribs, let me stand up here, and the lungs on both sides. So kidneys, liver, heart, spleen, lungs. I know this is the advanced class, but you guys are advanced. We're going to do it, all right? Just think this way, spiraling through all the organs. So this is going to connect our sexual energy to all of the organ centers, charge them up with that. So we're going to do the same deep breathing, the 9 breaths, and as you do the breaths, feel like you're breathing into the sexual center. It's like you're stoking a fire. With each breath, you're breathing into your sexual organs, creating this fire. And then the 9th breath, we hold the breath and we move that fire through the organs. You guys ready? 9 breaths, here we go. Exhale everything. Deep breath. Hold the breath and feel the spiral. The energy spirals into the kidneys and the lower back. Feel it absorb there. Move the energy up, spiraling into the liver, the right side of the ribs, to the heart, left side of the chest, spleen, stomach, left side of the ribs, lungs, both sides of the ribs. And just feel that overflowing in all the organs again. You can exhale when you need to. Just feel that movement. How do you guys feel? Is that all right? Feeling good? Thumbs up, thumbs down? All right. We lose anybody? All right, everyone's still here. We're gonna do one more. Same thing. Nine breaths. Exhale everything. Deep breath in. Hold the breath. Gently contract the pelvic floor. Push the belly out. Feel the spiral. Kidneys, the lower back. Liver, the right side of the ribs. Heart, the chest. Spleen, stomach, and the left side of the ribs. Lungs. And just feel this clockwise spiral of energy through the torso. Just feel that moving, overflowing. And exhale when you need to. Do another clearing breath. So this practice we just did, again, it just helps to draw that sexual energy, move it into the organs. You can play with other energy centers as well. You can move it through the 7 chakras, move it into the brain. You know, your imagination's the limit. You can also do this with a partner. I know it might be a bit awkward. Obviously, you have to tell them what's going on, but guys especially, this is a powerful way to resolve having a lot of arousal. Instead of ejaculating it out, you do this breath. It will draw that energy into your organs. Instead of losing the energy, you store it up in your organs. Extremely powerful. You can also make it a bit more discreet, but just practicing doing some deep breathing, holding the breath, and moving it through the organs. All right, so, I was going to use this as a reference. So this is the microcosmic orbit. Again, this main pathway up the back of the body, down the front of the body. You can move the energy through that as well. And again, the benefit to this channel, the microcosmic orbit, is that it's what's known as the 8 extraordinary meridians, these deeper vessels of energy in the body. Acupuncturists work with the 12 organ system, and this is a deeper channel that feeds those 12 organ systems. So by moving the sexual energy through this meridian, up the back channel, down the front, the do and the mai, or the ren and the do, sorry, it feeds all the other acupuncture meridians in the body. So it feeds the sexual energy through the whole body. So it's a very efficient practice. So that's it, guys. You can find me on YouTube, Sexual Kung Fu, Instagram as well. I have some online courses for men and women if you want to go deeper into this work. So you can check that out. This is my website as well. Are there any questions? Do anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
You talked about the 12 external meridians and then the 8 internal. I hadn't heard about the 8 internal. Do you recommend a book that talks about that?
I know there's some books on them. It was part of my training in Qigong. There's a lot of Qigong systems that teach you. So basically, yeah, the 12 kind of the organ meridian systems are more related to the physical body, but there's these deeper 8 meridians. It's kind of our primary energetic matrix. They're also known as the psychic channels. So there's the 2 main channels up the front, the body down the front, the do and the ren. There's also these central channels, very, I think, related to the sushumna they talk about, which is the central channel to the very center of the body. There's a belt channels. They move horizontally like rings around the body. And then there's arm and leg channels So those are the 8 extras. But yeah, just you can look up 8 extraordinary meridians and find more information about that. Yeah. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Would you recommend that last practice while you're in Congress? Is that for?
Yes, you can use it during sexual connection with your partner. I recommend practicing a bit by yourself, get a feel for it, but yes, you can use that. You and your partner can do it together. You know, women and men can both do this practice, and it will just really powerfully draw that sexual energy through the organs, through the rest of your body. It's very healing, it's very powerful, so absolutely. Obviously, you want to tell them what's going on beforehand, to just be like, hold on, honey, I'm going to jump up and do this thing, you know.
So not while in Congress.
Well, you can. That's kind of a formal way of doing it. You sit, you do the breath, but you can also, you know, when you're lovemaking, just focus on taking some deep breaths. You don't even have to, you know, stop what you're doing. And on the 9th breath, you hold the breath and just focus on moving the energy. It'll take a bit of practice, but yeah, it can be done. So play with that. Any other questions? Oop, tripping over my stage here. All right, well, oh, go ahead.
Something that came to mind. I understand that a lot. This has been going on in sports for a long time. Like coaches and different counselors, they tell players to refrain from any type of sex, like maybe a day or two before they perform, because they tend to. It's said that one performs better in sports, you know, physical activity, have more energy, vitality. I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Muhammad Ali, you know, the boxer, he supposedly would go weeks at a time without having sex before his fights. There's a tennis player who would do the same. And yeah, I think there's something to this. A lot of these athletes, all like these martial arts masters as well, they're like, nope, I'm not going to have sex. I'm not going to lose my energy. And that's kind of, you know, the Indian yogis have the brahmacharyas, you know, who they don't indulge in sex, they don't indulge in sexual thoughts. And kind of the benefit of this is that you can have sex, you can engage sexually for the men without ejaculating when you learn how to instead of losing it, right? So I think you get the best of both worlds that way. Go ahead.
So you're saying acting on the leg, so you're saying when I get really horny and I want to put it into my business, like the creative energy, and I would do this?
Absolutely. Do this practice, move it through your body so that it's not just stuck down there. Move it, you know, guide it through the orbit pathway, and then go work on your business, and you'll find yourself feeling very, very creative. You know, I think for men, especially like men who are trying to start practicing semen retention, one of the issues you have is, oh, I'm really, really horny now. So it's like you have all this extra energy. You just have to start channeling that energy into something else, right? So it's like start being more, you know, creative, more active, put it into your business, your art, you know, go to the gym, whatever. So you have to start finding new outlets for this energy as you start to build it up. Any other questions? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. If anyone has, I know this stuff can be kind of, you know, private, awkward, whatever. If you have anything you want to ask me personally afterwards, you know, I'll be around, so you can, you know, ask me if you have any questions, whatever. So, all right. Thank you very much, guys. Oh, also, I'm going to be teaching a qigong class on Sunday. I think at 4 or 4:30, something like that, in the healing hallway. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.